I remember the $1 million videos, right? Like this is happening in this era. How are you viewing this from a director standpoint?
We just thought that the bigger the artists that we worked with, the bigger the budget would be. So as long as we could keep on striving to work with other, like if we worked with, I don't know, let's say Usher at the time, then we needed to work with R. Kelly, you know, or to get to at the time. So I don't want people to, I don't want anybody to get it twisted.
Different times. They don't want.
Nah, you can't erase the history.
Right.
It's like Puff. You can't erase the history.
Right. So we just thought that it was whoever we worked with was bigger, we would get more money, and that was not always the case. It just mattered on what was negotiated.
Let me ask you this. You know who Dr. Umar is?
Yes.
So I saw him speaking. He talked about Hip Hop 50, and his thing was like, his thing was like, what has hip hop done? That was he's kind of critical on a lot of different stuff, and he was like, well, hip hop hasn't done anything. And they're like, what do you mean hip hop hasn't done anything? He's like, well, we don't have no schools, we don't have no hospitals, we don't have no institutions. So from his standpoint, it was like from 50 years of hip hop, we've only gotten negative influences, death, and destruction. That's obviously like an extreme argument,
right.
But it's something to at least I want to ask you about, because you're a hip hop from the beginning to now. You've seen 50 years of hip hop. So when you see somebody like that who's highly regarded in our community as an intellectual,
because he's just looking at he's looking at what he sees in front of the screen. He's not looking at who's behind the scenes. He's not looking at all the people that are empowered, that are cutting those checks and putting them into the community and making it work besides the entertainment part of it. How it changes a community. It changes Harlem. You know, you get, when Harlem, when they put in, new restaurants and all these different things in Brooklyn, I see it. I lived in Brooklyn. It's hip hop that drove people to Brooklyn. They didn't come there because Brooklyn was a cool place. It was Biggie saying, the
livest one from Bedford Stuyvesant.
Right.
We're Brooklyn.
Right. Now when you walk down Fulton Street in Brooklyn on a Saturday afternoon, middle class white folks with their kids, and the dude with the hoodie, Biggie's, where he come from? Like, what are you doing here? And so, but that's why they came, because we made it cool. And and I understand, well, sometimes I don't understand where Dr. Umar's coming from, but in his case, you still have to get people on board to not just hip hop people. We still have to go and sell ourselves every day. I'm pretty sure you guys get in situations where it's clearly we know what you do. I know, everybody in the community knows, but you still have to kind of sell, well, what's the difference between this and Joe Rogan? And you know what I'm saying? You're like, what are you talking about, bro? Have you not seen the movement? Have you not come to the events? Have you not seen the influence and the way we inspire? And people go off and do it. And we're not tracking everybody, but we see it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ancillary things that you can't really measure. Like, in some regards, you can say that hip hop really is the reason why Barack Obama got elected. Because
I'm first to say that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Because his cultural influence made it acceptable for white people to look at somebody black and give him an opportunity where previously that wouldn't. And that's because they got so used to Tupac, Biggie, Snoop, and all of that, and it just permeated, hip-hop permeated society and kind of softened the situation.
There are 60-year-olds, me, that grew up on hip-hop, and they're the head of corporations. And you play a Run DMC record, and they lose their mind. And their wife looks at them like, who is this man? This white man who's 60 years old. We didn't expect that to happen. And their kids are like, I didn't know Dad knew about hip hop. Because he grew up, and when he was in high school, he was in college or in high school, that was the music that he grew up listening to. and he still loves that, and that makes him happy at 60 years old still. And he'll buy the kids tickets. We all going to see Run DMC. How about that?
And I also think that it's kind of unfair. We put hip hop in an unfair bucket, right? Because it's like it's still a genre of music.
Right.
We're not asking what institution has classical music built, or what institution has the blues built,
Country
right?
music.
Yeah,
Pick one.
I mean, we're over index because part of it is because we rely too much on hip hop, right? Like we don't just look at hip hop as like this is just good entertainment. It's become so much of our life that it's become entertainment, a religion, a culture, everything for us, right? So it's like we put so much pressure on it, and then that's not really fair because at the end of the day, it shouldn't really have that much pressure. It should just be a part of what we look at, not the whole entire every single thing in our life.
I think that's where the distinguishment between hip hop and rap music,
Right.
right? Because hip hop as a culture itself, yeah, you're right. We definitely over indexing it because it's something that we created, and it's
Use
something
it for everything.
Yeah, and we've watched it, right? So if it was 50 years, like I'm an 82 baby, you 84, we literally grew up with this music, and like I can say for me, it's been the biggest influence, right? When KRS-One was coming out with Biggie Down Productions, like talking about being a teacher, it's like, all right, you could be a teacher. Then Jay spitting, I'm like, oh wait, he's saying things that we can unpack. Like this is, even for me, it was like, I gotta be creative on how I teach because he's saying things that I can use to kids and now they can relate to it through the music. So it's the biggest influence. I mean, by far, right?
I use hip hop in the libraries now. I work
Right.
with the Queens Library. You know, they were like, first of all, the amount of kids that were going to libraries had come down. Why? We could use this. We don't have to go in the library. How do we get them in the library, Ralph? I remember sitting in front of a bunch of people that run the library in Queens, and I said we could do some events, and they'll come, and then we just got to trick them to getting into taking books out and getting library card. And they were like, well, how do we do that? Easy. We bring in a DJ. We got a graffiti writer doing some graffiti. Kids want to draw. Let's try this. And we started doing that. And that was 6 years ago. And the numbers increased in all of our 65 branches. We have 65 libraries in Queens.